Hey BookTube, it's me again. It's Peg. I'm back at the history shelf. Alright, so by way of disclaimer, let me just say, the books I'm about to show you that have come in the mail are not from just 1 week of mail. I mean, I have been just very busy with work and a lot of big things going on with work and a lot of haven't had a chance. You've seen my videos have slowed down a little bit. A lot of things going on. So the books that have arrived in the mail kind of piled up. So we're going to plow through the stack because I really want to get these sorted and, sorted on my shelves and also sorted as far as order of, how I'm going to approach them for reviewing. Again, I'm also dealing with the fact that we want to be moving soon. So I'm not quite sure. I just know that I need to clear up the area around my desk. This is where I work. And this is where I also do my videos. So I need to have a clear workspace. You know what I'm saying? And they have piled up a bit. Now, so these are books that, one of them, these are mostly all books for potential review. And one of them I'm just going to show so I can take it upstairs, but I got a new Library of America to add to my collection. I am a subscriber, so they arrive about every 2 months. But anyway, I'll show that in a second. So what I'm just trying to say is these have accumulated for well over a month. So I apologize for the delay in showing these, but they're all brand new releases. I'm very excited by many of them. A couple were just unexpected, so I was like, oh, very cool. So let's just dive in. But you know what? Let me just take a drink first. I need a little caffeine. Okay. I felt like I was going to tell you something and I just forgot. So that's why I'm acting a little spacey. All right. Let's get with it, Peg. Okay, so let's just start with the Library of America. My new installment arrived, about a week or so ago. And I think this is new. I don't think I've ever gotten a Hemingway before. They must have just got the rights to them, because I was like, this is strange that I haven't, out of all the books I've accrued or collected for Library of America, that I didn't really have any Hemingway. And as you can see this is how the subscriber editions arrive. They're not the black books with the black dust jacket cover with the stripe that goes around. I prefer the subscriber editions because I love these slipcases that they come in. And I just love the beautiful color, the cloth that they use, and they come in different colors, and I love those. But anyway, so each one arrives with a little insert, gives you a little information on the stories included and a picture. So this one includes The Sun Also Rises and Other Writings, 1918 to 1926. So we've got The Sun Also Rises, The Torrents of Spring, In Our Time, and Journalism and Letters. So I was very happy to get that. That's the Library of America. All right, what should I start with first? Oh, gosh, darn it. Let's start with the good folks at Pegasus Books. Two very interesting titles. One came out earlier this year in the summer. But I figured it was timely reading. Still is timely reading. You know, when we look back at what happened these last 4 years and also at this election, I think, there's going to be a lot of soul searching in this country to see what happened and what's going on with our commitment to certain ideals that this country was founded on. And so this book, I think, will speak into that. And this is called Madison's Sorrow: Today's War on the Founders in America's Liberal Idea, by Kevin C. O'Leary. This is put out by Pegasus Books. Again, this came out in May. So I'm a little bit behind on that, but they were kind enough to send me this copy, and I'm going to dig into this. Yes, I'm looking at the introduction, and it speaks to current events. I'll read you a quick overview. Now, I won't be able to read a description of all of these because there's a lot. Okay, maybe it's a little too. Maybe I shouldn't read this just because it touches on our current president, things going on, and tensions are running high right now. But let's just say this is an eye-opening cultural history of the political revolution that has destroyed the Republican Party and unleashed an illiberal crusade against the ideals of the Founding Fathers. You know what? No, I'm going to read this description because I feel strongly about this, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The story of America is a struggle between our liberal idea and illiberal resistance. Donald Trump catalyzed a reactionary revolution by tapping into the dark, shadowy side of American democracy that embraces exclusion and inequality. Madison's Sorrow shows that throughout American history, these alarming impulses have come to the forefront of our culture. During the Civil War, the era of the robber barons, and the Civil Rights Movement, but have now come to fruition in the presidency of Donald Trump. Clearly, conservatives have lost their party. And without conservatives debating liberals in an intellectual, engaged manner to address the nation's problems, Madisonian democracy breaks down. In the tradition of Thomas Paine's Rights of Man and Arthur M. Schlesinger Jr.'s The Vital Center, Madison's Sorrow offers a searing critique of the radical right and a passionate defense of the founders' liberal idea. So, this is an important book, and especially for me, because now I'm an independent, but I definitely, and I think I might have mentioned this before on this channel. I'm a moderate and a conservative. Moderate conservative. I'm center. I'm center right. But I don't identify with either party. But I can honestly say, and he's hit the nail on the head, conservatives have lost their party. If their party is the Republican Party, they've lost it. And they need to fight like hell to rebuild it and get it back to some semblance of a humane and inclusive party. I mean, it's just the things I've been seeing this week, and not seeing anyone. Well, there's several people that have spoken out against some of the more egregious things going on in the Republican Party, but a lot of them are just yes men, and it's just disgusting. Shame on you. I don't like to talk politics at all, but when I see my country, our country, being just destroyed by greed and solipsism and just narcissistic me, and you just don't give a, you know what I want to say. You don't give a damn about the good of the country, then you don't deserve to be in power, and you don't deserve to wear a mantle of the party of Lincoln, frankly. So yeah, I think this book, Madison's Sorrow, I'm going to be studying this going forward because I really am interested as a person that, thought that more conservative, policies in some areas were wise, but now the people have just lost their minds in supporting a demagogue. And so, yeah, sorry, I don't see a way forward for the Republican Party to ever be in power again, unless they radically reform and evolve. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of dislikes on this video. I just realized that, but I don't care. I don't. I care about my country more, and I still hold on to my libertarian, conservative views on certain policies, and I mean, I'm definitely more of a social, like I'm more liberal socially, but you know, I don't know. I just think that's going to be a really instructive book, and I'll be really curious to see what the years ahead will look like for our two-party system, because I'm not a fan of either, really. And when I was younger, I was a card-carrying member, libertarian, back in my 20s. But then I just realized I just need to be unaffiliated. I'm an independent thinker, and I will support the person that I think best is best for the country and is best for things I believe in. So anyway, having said that, Madison Sorrow looks like a great book. I'll report back. Anyway, next book by Pegasus I got takes on a foreign affairs view, a kind of like a going to a different country view. And this is A Rope from the Sky, the making and unmaking of the world's newest state. Can you guess what that state is? I mean, you could, from the cover, you can maybe guess. It is Sudan, or South Sudan, I should say. And I've always been intrigued by, just African politics and the different the countries there, and how their democracy has also been corrupted. And there are warnings everywhere, and you need to look out for. This is the untold story of America's attempt to forge a nation from scratch, from euphoric birth to heart-wrenching collapse. So in case, I'll read this because I'm not sure if many of you are aware of what happened in Sudan and how it broke between North and South. South Sudan's independence was celebrated around the world, a triumph for global justice and an end to one of the world's most devastating wars. But the party would not last long. South Sudan's freedom fighters soon plunged their new nation into chaos, shattering the promise of liberation and exposing the hubris of their foreign backers. Chronicling extraordinary stories of hope, identity, and survival, A Rope from the Sky journeys inside an epic tale of paradise won and then lost. This character-driven narrative is first a story of power, promise, greed, compassion, violence, and redemption from the world's most neglected patch of territory. But it is also a story about the best and worst of America. So I guess it brings it back to America. Both its big-hearted ideals and its difficult reckoning with the limits of American power amid a changing global landscape. God. Yeah, it's a modern-day Greek tragedy that will challenge our perspectives on global politics. Might not read that right now. Just need some happiness. Okay, so we're looking at South Sudan here. The upper ups, and then, yeah. And how it was, I think it was, I'm trying to remember how here's Sudan. And there's Southern Sudan. And I'm trying to remember which one was Christian and which one was the Muslim one, but they were warring, and I think Southern Sudan was supposed to be the Christian one. The Christian nation, and then they're warring, and it's just, I'd like to know how the hell we got involved, and why, we need to rethink a lot of things as a country. Okay. Let's see, where should I go next? So both those books are from Pegasus Books. I enjoy their books very much. Oh yeah, and I showed this on Instagram. This came yesterday. This is from Oxford University Press. Again, this is another book that I'll probably wait a couple of weeks maybe, or maybe wait until December or something to read. Or I might read it in January 6th. We'll see. This is History's Fools, The Pursuit of Idealism and the Revenge of Politics by David Martin Jones. Let's see here. The end of the Cold War announced a new world order. Liberal democracy prevailed. Ideological conflict abated, and world politics set off for the promised land of a secular, cosmopolitan, market-friendly end of history. Or so it seemed. 30 years later, this unipolar worldview, premised on shared values, open markets, open borders, and abstract social justice, lies in tatters. What happened? David Martin Jones examines the progressive ideas behind liberal Western practice since the end of the 20th century, at home and abroad. This mentality, he argues, took an excessively long view of the future and a short view of the past, abandoning politics in favor of ideas and failing to address or understand rejection of liberal norms by non-Western others. He explores the inevitable consequences of this liberal hubris, political and economic confusion, with the chaotic results we have seen. Finally, he advocates a return to more skeptical political thinking, with prudent statecraft abroad and defense of political order at home, in order to rescue the West from its widely advertised demise. History's Fool is a timely account of the failed project to shape the world in the West's image, and an incisive call for a return to true politics. So I thought that this would be a very engaging intellectual read. I can see right now it's highly researched, and there are a lot of stats and numbers, and woo-wee. Let's give you some of the chapter headings here. I'm still intrigued, and the preface has a foreword by Hannah Arendt. There is some grandiose ludicrousness in the spectacle of these men, submitting often from one day to the others, humbly and without so much as a cry of outrage, to the call of historical necessity. They were fooled by history, and they have become the fools of history. And that was from Hannah Arendt, her essay on revolution from 1963. So I'm intrigued. We have an introduction. We have the end of history in the Kantian moment, the progressive mind and the Islamist challenge. Chapter 4 is the incoherence of the philosophers. There's an Easter egg there. If you recognize that chapter heading as a work, please let me know, because I do. Chapter 5, the language of progress and the closure of the European mind. Then we have the networked global order. Then we have all roads lead to China, and a couple more closing chapters. So this looks very, we mentioned Spengler, the decline in the West in here too. Okay, so this is going to be a really heady read. And I think I'm going to wait until after things are settled, because my mind is just, and my soul is just in so much turmoil from everything going on, that to read more about, the politics and how the West is, Western history as far as, politics and all the aforementioned demise of the West, things that we've heard, I'm just a little bit weary. So, but I do like reading books that, he's mentioning Fukuyama in here, The End of History and The Last Man. I love books that kind of mention other books, and this is going to be some rich reading, and I will enjoy it. I'm gonna wait, maybe Christmas time. We'll see. Thank you, Oxford University Press. This is on my TBR though. Okay. Let's switch real quick to Civil War. This is I'm a Grant fan. I love my Ulysses Grant, and it is my mission in life, basically, to have every book written about Grant. And not that I really need any type of other study on him, between all of the biographies I've read on him, and of course the recent one on Chernow's biography on Grant. But this one is a brand new book from Stackpole Books, nice little publisher. This is it's a very targeted history. It's very slim, but it's called Grant's Victory: How Ulysses S. Grant, sorry about the glare, won the Civil War, by Bruce L. Brager. Now, I wrote my my undergraduate senior thesis on pretty much that topic, but it was mostly focused on how he beat Lee in the Overland Campaign of 1864. But it's essentially the same thing. How did he win it? Of course, it also included his marvelous campaigns out in the Western theater between Donaldson and Shiloh, although Shiloh is a very close-run thing. Obviously, his Vicksburg campaign was a thing of utter genius. It was just in the annals of warfare, his campaign ranks up there with like Hannibal and just the greatest. He's a genius. He's a genius. Anyway, so I was intrigued when I saw this come out. I said, well, I need to review this because I've read and dipped into so many resources writing my paper, which was published in the University of Michigan Journal of History. They didn't get funding because of the pandemic to print the journal, but I do have an online version of the journal, and my paper's in it. So if any of you are interested, I could send you the link. My paper's called Lee's Lost Cause: Fighting Grant. Fighting Grant in the Overland Campaign of 1864. Anyway, that's just a little plug for me. My first ever paper it was published in an academic journal, so I was really happy about that. Anyway, it was accepted by a university, their journal, so that was a big deal. Oh, there he is. Never get tired of that picture. Love it. Okay, so it's a slim volume. We've got our footnotes and a nice bibliography. It's only 130 pages, so I don't know, this one I could read really quickly and give you guys a review. Okay, he goes into the, Peninsula Campaign. He goes into the major battles, but I'm trying to see how it ties in with Grant. Let me just read the overview real quick. Two of the great themes of the Civil War are how Lincoln found his war-winning general in Grant, and how Grant finally defeated Lee. Grant's victory intertwines these two threads in a grand narrative that shows how Grant made the difference in the Civil War. In the Eastern Theater battlefields from Bull Run to Gettysburg, Union commanders, whom Lincoln replaced after virtually every major battle, had struggled to best Lee, either suffering embarrassing defeats or failing to follow up successes. Meanwhile, in the West, Grant had been refining his art of war at places like Fort Donelson, Shiloh, Vicksburg, and Chattanooga. And in early 1864, Lincoln made him general-in-chief, as we know. Arriving in the East, almost deus ex machina, and immediately recognizing what his predecessors never could, Grant pressed Lee in nearly continuous battle for the next 11 months, a series of battles and sieges that ended at Appomattox Courthouse. So it'll be interesting to see how he really tries to do this in 130 pages. But God bless him for that effort. I always welcome a new study on Grant. That will never change. So this is from Stackpole Books. And that came out this year. Indeed it did, by Bruce L. Brager. Can you hear that? That's the trash truck now. Okay, it's a busy day here on Fridays. Woo! All right, next up. I'm going to save some of these smaller volumes for last, I think. All right, we're going to go to Dutton Publishing. Oh, guys, hello. Okay, I'm so excited. I wanted to review this. And I think it's time for a big presidential biography deep dive. What do you guys say? This is the brand new biography that came out a few months ago. I'd first seen it when it came across my wires on History Book Club. But this is a beast of a biography on James Monroe, A Life, by Tim Mcgrath. I haven't read really any biographies on Monroe, so this will fill a gap for me. I mentioned in another video I have like 3 or 4 different biographies on Madison. He seems to be very popular, and of course I just got this Madison Sorrow book, but that's not technically a biography. But this is the latest. Look at this beast. I love it. I love big books. Like with Chris at Leaf by Leaf. I love big books, and I cannot lie. And this has been just blurbed. It's a high heaven. We've got John Meacham blurbing this, praising it. Nathaniel Philbrick, H.W. Brands, Oh, just a ton of blurbage for James Monroe. This is, not counting notes, oh my god, it's 500, it's almost 600 pages. This is the extraordinary life of James Monroe, soldier, senator, diplomat, and the last founding father to hold the presidency, a man who helped transform 13 colonies into a vibrant and mighty republic. So, I mean, I'm not going to, you know who James Monroe is, so I won't read you all this just because I have more books to show, and I'm at 25 minutes already. So it says here that critically acclaimed author Tim Mcgrath has consulted an extensive array of primary sources, many rarely seen since Monroe's own time, to conjure up this fascinating portrait of an essential American statesman and president. And there's our author, Tim Mcgrath. Thank you, sir. So I was very thrilled to get this, and I'm trying to plot out the time that I'm going to start this one. Because, again, I'd like to fill my gap of knowledge about Monroe. Know a lot about Madison, and but Monroe, a little bit hazier on that one. So, all right, so I got that one. And then next up, we're going to let's go to St. Martin's Press. Yeah, one is a novel, and one is history, but one is a historical fiction. So this looked intriguing, and I said yes. They offered to send me a review copy, and I was down for it. This is Eli's Promise by Ronald H. Balsam. He is the author of Once We Were Brothers, but this is his newest novel. It came out in late September. And he's an award-winning author. And in this story, Eli's Promise, he tells the story of a fixer in a Polish town during World War II, his betrayal of a Jewish family, and a search for justice 25 years later. It is a masterful work of historical fiction spanning 3 eras: Nazi-occupied Poland, the American zone of post-war Germany, and Chicago at the height of the Vietnam War. It's fascinating. So it covers 3 areas, like 1939, 1946, and 1965, and it follows Eli Rosen. It begins in 1939 with Eli Rosen and his wife Esther and their young son in the Polish town of Lublin, where his family owns a construction company. As a consequence of the Nazi occupation, Eli's company is Aryanized, appropriated, and transferred to Maximilian Polski, an unprincipled profiteer who peddles favors to Lublin's subjugated residents. An uneasy alliance is formed. Polski will keep the Rosen family safe if Eli will manage the business. Will Polski honor his promise, or will the relationship end in betrayal and tragedy? And then it takes you to 1946, and I won't say what else because I don't want to give it's kind of telling you what happens there. It's all about Eli and what happens stemming from that moment and taking you up into the 60s and Vietnam. So this looks like a great work. It's got many advanced praise already from Booklist. Several authors, and yeah, so Eli's Promise. That's by St. Martin's Press. That came out in September. Sounds good. Good World War II type of historical fiction. So I'm excited for that. And then kind of going along with this a little bit, touching slightly on, that's also World War II. This says, oh, I'm sorry, is this, sorry, I grabbed the wrong book. No, this definitely is World War II, and this is also from St. Martin's Press. And this book came out and just was published November 3rd. This is Nazi Wives, The Women at the Top of Hitler's Germany by James Wiley. I think it's Willie or Wiley. St. Martin's Press, yeah. This is going to be a scary read. Some of these women are almost as scary as the men, really. So it says here, got the sheet here, Goering, Goebbels, Himmler, Heydrich, Hess, Bourbon are names synonymous with power and influence in the Third Reich. Perhaps less familiar are Karen, Emmy, Magda, Marguerite, Lena, Ilsa, and Gerda. These are the women behind the infamous men, complex individuals with distinctive personalities who were captivated by Hitler and whose everyday lives were governed by Nazi ideology. I was going to make a joke, but no, I'm not. Okay. Nazi Wives, the women at the top of Hitler's Germany by James Willey, looks at their personal lives, psychological profiles, and marriages to the officers in Hitler's inner circle. Some of what Nazi Wives look at in questions it asks includes, how much did the wives know about their husband's activities? Everything. That's what I'm guessing. What influence did the wives have, if any, over their husband's actions or the regime's policies? We'll see. I mean, my guess is they were cheerleaders. They were down for it. But anyway, maybe I'll be proven wrong by reading this, and I'm going to go into it open to being persuaded otherwise. To what extent were the leading Nazi wives examples of the exercise of soft power? Why were the surviving wives treated so leniently after the war? Was it because they were, quote, just women, and therefore considered unimportant and insignificant? Why did none of the surviving wives ever express any true guilt or remorse about what the Nazis and their husbands did? I'll give you one guess. Because they didn't have any remorse or guilt. Okay. Magda Goebbels and her children. Now that in itself, that story about Magda and Goebbels, that is just one of the most, probably the most chilling and haunting things about the end. You know, when they killed all their children. They had like 5 children, and they killed them down in the bunker. They just killed them with the cyanide tabs. You know, why did she decide to kill them? And was she the one who did the deed? And then we have Geli Raubel, and that was Hitler's half-niece and lover. Did she kill herself or was she murdered? So, these are all the things that this book will look at, obviously. So Nazi Wives explores these women in detail for the first time, skillfully interweaving their stories through years of struggle, power, decline, and destruction, into the post-war twilight of denial and delusion. So, it's probably going to be a bit of an infuriating read, but it's helpful to know that, you know, it's not just the men. They had their partners in crime, as it were. I mean, it makes you wonder about, like, the, you know, how much guilt does the partner of someone who does something heinous, you know, and if they knew about it, especially, you know, they need to be culpable in their own way. But anyway, I'm excited, or I don't know if excited is the word. I'm interested to know how he answers some of those questions I just read out, but kind of skeptical. I don't think any of them were angels or, you know, babes in the wood. I think they knew what was going on. But anyway, Nazi Wives, guys. St. Martin's Press. Gonna check that one out. All right. Then we have Belknap Harvard. This is a brand new book, and it was just reviewed in Wall Street Journal. I subscribe to that, so I love reading all their book reviews. This book came out this year. I don't have the release date, but I know it just came out, I think, in the last month. This is Denaturalized. How Thousands Lost Their Citizenship and Lives in Vichy France by Claire Zalk. Look at that cover. I only have a couple more books, or a few more books, so I'll quickly read the just an overview here. Thousands of naturalized French men and women had their citizenship revoked by the Vichy government during the Second World War. Once denaturalized, these men and women, mostly Jews who were later sent to concentration camps, ceased being French on official records and walked off the pages of history. As a result, we have for decades severely underestimated the number of French Jews murdered by Nazis during the Holocaust. In Denaturalized, Claire Zalk unearths this tragic record and rewrites World War II history. At its core, this is a detective story. How do we trace a citizen made alien by the law? How do we solve a murder when the body has vanished? Faced with the absence of straightforward evidence, Zalk turned to the original naturalization papers in order to uncover how denaturalization later occurred. She discovered that in many cases, the very officials who granted citizenship to foreigners before 1940 were the ones who retracted it under Vichy rule. The idea of citizenship has always existed alongside the threat of its revocation, and this is especially true for those who are naturalized citizens of a modern state. At a time when the status of millions of naturalized citizens in the United States and around the world is under greater scrutiny, Denaturalized turns our attention to the precariousness of the naturalized experience, the darkness that can befall those who suddenly find themselves legally cast out. Wow. So this was a little bit more than I thought it would be about. It is really, not only does it pinpoint the case of the French Jews in World War II in Vichy France, but it takes a broader view of just the status of, the light's changing, the status of naturalization across the country, and here in America, and the precariousness of it. And this hits home for me just because, Martine is Irish, and I'm just very intrigued by this whole process. So, Denaturalized by Claire Zalk. It's going to be an interesting study. All right. And then this book came out earlier this year. It's a very big read. I was thinking, but I haven't heard back anything from Mr. Steve. It's about 400 pages. But I would like to read and review this for Open Letters if, I don't even know if Steve watches my videos anymore. But this is another World War II or post-World War II book, but this is a very big study. Soviet Judgment at Nuremberg, A New History of the International Military Tribunal After World War II. I don't like how that light keeps making me turn yellow. Okay, by Francine Hirsch. And this is also by Oxford University Press. Love Oxford University Press books. Steve, if you haven't reviewed this book for Open Letters and you happen to still watch my videos 37 minutes in, let me know if you'd like me to review for Open Letters. That's your test. Let me know. This is my test to see if he even watches my videos, and I don't think he does. He's a busy man, you know. He's got a lot of stuff, lot going on. So, Soviet Judgment at Nuremberg offers the first complete picture of the International Military Tribunal, or the IMT, including the many ironies brought to bear as the Soviets took their place among the countries of the prosecution in late 1945. Tell me about it. Everyone knew that Stalin had allied with Hitler before the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact hung heavy over the courtroom, as did the suspicion that the Soviets had falsified evidence in an attempt to pin one of their own war crimes, the mass killing of Polish officers in the Katyn Forest, on the Nazis. Talk about irony. It's like Libya heading up the Human Rights Council at the UN. I'm like, okay. Moreover, key members of the Soviet delegation, including the Soviet judge and chief prosecutor, had played critical roles in Stalin's infamous show trials of the 1930s. For the American prosecutor Robert H. Jackson and his colleagues in the British and French delegations, Soviet participation in the MIT undermined the credibility of the trials and indeed the moral righteousness of the Allied victory. So this looks intriguing as hell. And I really, I can't wait to dig into this. As you know, I love Russian and Soviet history. I read a lot on the Russians and also the Soviet era. So this is a study that I've never approached before. I have not really known much about Soviet participation at the Nuremberg trials. The controversies that existed. So this is another book that will be like a revelation to me, and I love history that kind of, it's not history that I'm reading for the umpteenth time, you know, like my 13th book on the American Revolution, or, you know, the 7th book on the Battle of Chancellorsville or whatever. This is something brand new for me, and I'm excited. So, Oxford University Press, thank you. Whoever would like my review, let me know. All right, then we go to Casemate Publishers. You know, I love Casemate, and I'm glitching today. Casemate Publishers, but this book is by their imprint, Pen and Sword. Small little volume, but I'm looking forward to checking it out because I love reading about the Japanese side in World War II. But this is a little slim little volume. This is The Rise and Fall of Imperial Japan by Stephen Nguyen. As you can see, it's very small. This is interesting. It kind of gives you a Emperor Meiji and the beginnings of the Imperial Empire of Japan and the years there. Then Japan under Emperor Taisho. And then Japan under Emperor Showa. And Japan in the 2 world wars, then the atomic bombs, and the end of empire. Wait, is that... Are those the books he wrote? Doesn't really say there, but oh no, this is part of the book. I think these are the chapters or something. So the question is, how did a once great nation that built an empire lose it all? From the Meiji Restoration in 1868, restoring imperial rule under Emperor Meiji, until Japan's surrender at the end of the Second World War in 1945, the dream lasted a comparatively short period of time, 77 years from beginning to end. During the empire's existence, Japan was involved in some 16 conflicts, resulting in the occupation of numerous countries and islands throughout Asia and the Pacific regions. Thousands were under the emperor's control, not all of whom were treated as they should have been. The book culminates with the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which finally brought about Japan's surrender and the end of the war in Asia and the Pacific. I like how it's very focused on the Meiji Restoration and just the period of the emperorship, as it were. Oh yeah, kind of goes into like the Mukden incident, chapter 8. Pictures throughout. It's very nice. That's what I love about the Casemate books they put out. They're always well illustrated, and they really dig out a lot of photographs you might never have seen anywhere else. Oh my God. Here's a picture of the suicide of Hideki Tojo, 1945. It's gruesome. Ooh, did he commit hara-kiri? Anyway, this is a quick little read, but I'm going to really just buzz through it and really enjoy the heck out of it, I think. About 150 pages. So, The Rise and Fall of Imperial Japan. Stephen Nguyen. Did I show you the... I think I did, yeah. Okay, so we got those, and then the last two I got were second book by Eric Vouillard. I showed you The Order of the Day that I received recently, and this is also from Other Press. And this is The War of the Poor, tiny little volume by Other Press about the German Peasants War from 1524 to 25. And that, if you're not familiar with that, it's about the, it happened in the 16th century, and this is when the Protestant Reformation launched an attack on privilege in the Catholic Church, but it rapidly became an established bourgeois authority itself. Rural laborers and the urban poor, who were still being promised equality in heaven, began to question why they shouldn't have equality here and now on earth. And there was an uprising, and it's called the German Peasants War. Gosh, look how slim. That's amazing if you can do history that well. Like, look at how wide the margins are, and then look how like wide between the sentences, the leading. He's like, oh, I can write this very quickly. And not a lot needs to be said. So if he does as well with the War of the Poor that he did for The Order of the Day, that's going to be a really nice, fun, fast read. And then Other Press was kind enough to send me this book the other day, Little Dancer, Aged 14, The True Story Behind Degas' Masterpiece. Look at that. And it's about the sculpture, I guess, and how it came to be. This just came. The paperback came out. Well, it's coming out November 24th. It says. So I got an advanced finished copy, I guess. It says here she is famous throughout the world. How many know her name? You can admire her figure in Washington, Paris, London, New York, Dresden, or Copenhagen, but where is her grave? We know only her age, 14, and the work that she did, because it was already grueling work at an age when children today are sent to school. In the 1880s, she danced as a little rat at the Paris Opera, and what is often a dream for young girls now wasn't a dream for her. She was fired after several years of intense labor. The director had enough of her repeated absences. She had been working another job, even two, because the few pennies the opera paid weren't enough to keep her and her family fed. She was a model posing for painters or sculptors, among them Edgar Degas. Drawing on a wealth of historical material as well as her own love of ballet and personal experiences of loss, Camille Laurens presents a compelling, compassionate portrait of Marie van Gotham and the world she inhabited that shows the importance of those who have traditionally been overlooked in the study of art. How lovely. Great, so that's from Little Press, or Other Press, and that's coming out November 24th at a bookstore near you. Another book, this is coming out in December, so I have a little bit of time here to read. This is an advanced reader copy, uncorrected proof. This is also by Other Press, and this is called I'm Staying Here, a novel by Marco Balsamo. In this story, a mother recounts her life story to her long-lost daughter in this sweeping historical novel about a community torn between Italian fascism and German Nazism. In the small village of Curon in South Tyrol, 17-year-old Trina longs for a different life. She dedicates herself to becoming a teacher, but the year that she qualifies, 1923, Mussolini's regime abolishes the use of German as a teaching language in the annexed Austrian territory. Defying their ruthless program of forced Italianization, Trina works for a clandestine network of schools in the valley, always with the risk of capture. In spite of this new climate of fear and uncertainty, she finds love and some measure of stability with Eric, an orphaned young man and her father's helper. Let's see, it goes on. Inspired by the striking image of the bell tower rising from Lake Rizia, all that remains today of the village of Curon, Marco Balsamo has written a poignant novel that beautifully interweaves great moments in history with the lives of everyday people. Because basically the war comes to Curon, and that bell tower is all that's left. I'm Staying Here, a novel, and this is coming out in December. December 1st. So let's see who's translated this. The work in translation. Jill Fulston. Translated from the Italian by Jill Fulston. All right. I like reading works in translation. I like reading the Mario Escobar book I read was a work in translation. The Remember Me. So this is another book that arrived, and I was very happy to see it. Like I said, I do enjoy my historical literature or historical fiction. So I have a lot of books here, guys, but they came in over a longer period of time. So I'm glad I could finally capture all these for you. I think I went on a little bit of a bargain book hunting spree, and I still have a couple more things to show you. I'll make a video maybe next week sometime, just to give you a break, because there's a lot of book haul videos going on here. So, preview of things to come. I think I made my final purchase from Liberty Fund for a very long time. But I scored big time. By accident. by accident. But I had a large shipment arrive. Not large. I ordered about 6 or 7 books a couple weeks ago. Well, I ordered them a long time ago, but then they didn't arrive for a couple months, and then they arrived. And then I noticed that I had some coupon codes for their brand new website, and they were all working, and so I stocked up on everything I needed from Liberty Fund forever, pretty much. And that'll be its own video, and it'll be a long one, so we'll save that for another day. All right, guys, well, I got to get back to reading, and I hope you have a great weekend out there. Let me know what you think, and stay well, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon, BookTube.